A young girl approaches you from the corner of a dark street. She's wrapped in an old, worn patchwork robe, ragged at the edges, stained like it has survived too many nights. She looks exhausted, starving, barely standing, a pitiful beggar. She lifts a trembling hand toward you, asking for alms. In her eyes, there's a deep, desperate hope, like you might be the only person tonight who will feel even a flicker of mercy. Your heart tightens. Under the dim glow of the streetlights, desperation in her face. You reach into your pocket. A few coins, just enough to buy food, just enough to make a difference. And then, as if fate is mocking you, the streetlight above you flickers. For one heartbeat, the world drops into darkness. Then the light snaps back on. And in the instant the light returns, you see something you will never forget. Something that will crawl into your dreams and steal your sleep for the rest of your life. Because on the arm she's holding out, there's a sight no human arm should ever have. Hundreds of eyes, glinting, blinking, shining in the streetlight, each one catching the light and flashing like wet glass. Some stare directly at you, some look up at the sky, some watch the ground. Some drift slowly, searching, alive, each one moving on its own. Your pulse spikes. Your blood turns cold. This isn't a nightmare. This is real. The thing standing in front of you isn't a beggar girl at all. It's Totomeki, the demon of 100 eyes. What is Totomeki? Hard question. And the answer is stranger than most people expect. If you look directly at the kanji, Totomeki seems simple. Toto, hundreds. Mi, eyes. Demon, oni. So literally, the demon with hundreds of eyes. But once you step into the deeper layers of Japanese language, the meaning changes. Because if you don't read it, if you listen to it, Totomeki reveals itself as a multi-layered wordplay, the kind Edo period people would instantly recognize. Something clever, something unsettling, something that makes your skin crawl once you understand it. There's another reading for Todome, bird's eye. Tori means bird, and mi means eye. But it doesn't mean an actual bird's eye. It refers to a shape. In old Japan, coins often had a round hole in the center, so they could be threaded together with a cord and carried easily. Even modern Japanese coins preserve this feature, especially the 5 yen and 50 yen coins. That perfect circular hole reminded people of a bird's eye. Over time, totome became slang for money. People would say things like, "I don't have much totome today," meaning, "I don't have much cash." And the wordplay doesn't stop there. Bird-eyed also points to a medical condition, night blindness. A bird-eyed person cannot see well in the dark, just like many bird species have limited night vision. So Totomeki becomes a strange triple meaning at once. Money, eyes, blindness. A creature with countless eyes, born from the crime of stealing money, tied to the irony of not seeing in the dark. And as you'll hear, this yokai feeds on all of those meanings. Totomeki appears in only one famous source, Toriyama Sekien's illustrated bestiary, Konjaku Gazuzoku Hyaki, roughly, the illustrated 100 demons from past and present. Sekien was an 18th century artist and writer with a unique place in Japanese folklore history. And the story he gives is short, but sharp. He writes that old, unofficial records from far regions mention a girl born with unusually long arms. At first, it might have seemed like a curse, but as she grew, she turned it into an advantage. She became a thief. She stole constantly, especially coins. From purses, from stalls, from boxes, anywhere she could slip those long arms without being seen. But eventually, the spirit of money itself took revenge. The accumulated rage of everything she had stolen finally answered back. Her body was marked with hundreds of bird eyes. For every coin she stole, an eye opened somewhere on her arms, her torso, her flesh. And that's how she became Todomeki, the demon with 100 eyes. Sekien even adds, stories about Todomeki appear in many regions' unofficial histories, and the origin might trace back to a place called Toto. And that's it. That single paragraph is essentially the entire official Todomeki legend. Was Todomeki invented? Like Kyokotsu and several other creatures, Todomeki is one of Sekien's famous wordplay yokai. Because here's the truth. Sekien had to fill multiple volumes of his 100 Demons series, and there weren't enough established yokai to fill every page. So what did he do? He invented some. Sometimes he borrowed fragments from half-heard legends. Sometimes he mixed elements from Chinese folk stories. Sometimes he created something entirely original. And often, he would take a strange phrase or a pun and turn it into a visual monster. A modern comparison would be imagining a monster encyclopedia filled with creatures like bird brain and slowpoke, taking slang literally, like Pokemon names brought to life. So yes, Todomeki may not have a deep ancient lineage. Sekien saw a clever idea: coins, eye holes, night blindness, countless eyes, and he built a quick story around it. But here's where it gets darker, because the tale doesn't end there. There is another yokai, similar in name, older in roots, and far more complex. Sekien escalated the idea by giving Todomeki hundreds of eyes. But deep in Japanese folklore, there are legends of a more classic creature, Domeki, the 100-eyed Oni. These stories often follow a recognizable pattern. A monster appears. A warrior confronts it. The monster is defeated, then seeks refuge in a temple, and finally repents, finding Buddhism. That strange moral ending is a clue that many of these tales come from the Heian period, 794 to 1185, a time when supernatural stories often needed a Buddhist lesson to survive official censorship. One of the most famous Domeki legends comes from Tochigi. Many researchers believe Sekien had at least heard this legend, and that it explains his vague comment about Toto being the origin. This story takes place in the Middle Heian era, across regions once known as Hitachi, modern Ibaraki, and Shimosa, modern Chiba. In that era, a powerful feudal lord named Taira no Masakado rose in rebellion. He wasn't satisfied with ruling land. He tried to become an independent emperor. He declared power in the eastern provinces, rejected imperial authority, refused taxes, and challenged the central court. The emperor's court, of course, could not allow this. A death order was issued, and the man chosen to carry it out was Fujiwara no Hidesato, a skilled warrior and loyal enforcer. Hidesato chased Masakado across provinces, clashing with him again and again. Swords, spears, battlefield encounters. But Masakado was strong, cunning. For a long time, Hidesato failed. Desperate, he returned home to Shimosa and prayed in sacred places, begging the kami spirits for a decisive victory. He fasted, meditated, and endured hardship for days. Then, his prayers were answered. He was granted the right to wield a holy blade, a weapon blessed by spirits, said to be able to defeat Masakado. Reforged by faith and desperation, Hidesato resumed the hunt. And finally, after a legendary clash, he captured Masakado. Masakado was brought before the imperial court, executed, and displayed as a warning. For this service, Hidesato was rewarded with the prestigious title Shinjufu Shogun, Defender of the North, and granted governorship over Shimotsuke. His status and wealth soared. He built a grand estate in Utsunomiya, Tochigi. He lived surrounded by power. When Hidesato approached, the old man fell to his knees and bowed. "My lord," he whispered, voice shaking, "please, listen to me. I beg you." Hidesato dismounted. He wasn't just a warrior now, he was a governor. Listening to his people was part of his duty. "Speak," Hidesato said. "Tell me what troubles you." The old man told him of a place northwest of the village, near Uta, a ruined settlement called Umasuteba. Even the name sounded wrong. Umasuteba can be read as the place where horses are thrown away. And in that place, the old man said, lived a horror, a 100-eyed Oni. At night it emerged, attacking travelers, killing animals, sometimes dragging people away. The region lived in terror. Farmers abandoned fields. Villages began to die. "Please," the old man begged, tears in his eyes. "You defeated even Masakado. You're our only hope. Save us." Hidesato hesitated. Oni hunting was deadly, but the duty was clear. "I accept," he said. "Tonight, I face it." Hidesato traveled toward Umasuteba, found a strategic point, prepared his bow and arrows, and waited. Hours passed. Evening sank into night. The air became unnaturally still. No birds, no insects, not even the usual breathing of the forest. As midnight approached, the atmosphere shifted. The sky, once clear, was swallowed by thick black clouds. The moon vanished. The stars disappeared. The air grew heavy, like the world was holding its breath. A cold wind moved through the trees, and then it appeared. The creature stood nearly 3 meters tall, a massive humanoid shape, but not human. Its hair was long and stiff, like blades or needles. Its body was thick with muscle and scars. But the worst part? The eyes. Eyes across its face, eyes on its arms, eyes covering its chest and back. Hundreds of them, all moving independently, all scanning different directions, all glowing in the dark like tiny lanterns. It stepped forward and spotted Hidesato's horse. It paused, then lunged like a beast. The horse died before it could even scream. The Oni tore into the flesh and began to eat. And that was Hidesato's opening. He raised his bow. Among the countless eyes, he chose the brightest one, the largest one, perhaps the creature's true eye. He inhaled, focused, and released. The arrow cut through the air and struck perfectly, piercing that shining eye, driving through skull and into vital organs. The impact was violent. The Oni was thrown backward, flipping in the air, slamming into the ground. It roared with pain and fury. From its wounds, a red liquid sprayed, almost glowing. Then it stood and ran, wounded but still powerful. Fast. Hidesato chased it, but the Oni fled toward Mount Myojin. There, at the foot of the mountain, It finally collapsed, motionless. Hidesato approached carefully, blade ready. But the night was too dark to inspect the body. He decided to wait for dawn. When morning came, Hidesato returned. But what he found was impossible. No corpse, no bones, no flesh, only scorched earth and ash. He realized the truth. That glowing liquid was not ordinary blood. It was like fire, like molten heat. When the Oni died, its burning blood consumed its own body and the ground around it. The villages rejoiced. Hidesato was celebrated as a hero, but they didn't know. The story wasn't finished. 4 centuries passed. Japan changed. Wars ended. New powers rose. The Ashikaga clan seized control and the Muromachi shogunate began. On the northern side of Mount Myojin, near the village of Hanawada, a beautiful Buddhist temple was built, Hongan-ji. Its head priest was a wise man named Chitoku, master of Dharma teachings, deep in meditation, known for insight and compassion. At that time, a young woman lived at Hongan-ji. She had come seeking refuge, and she was allowed to stay. Everyone admired her. "She's truly virtuous," villagers said. "Like a living saint," the monks whispered. She followed every rule. She prayed constantly. She helped the poor. She never complained. She smiled politely. Almost everyone was deceived. Everyone, except Chitoku. Chitoku sensed something wrong from the first moment. Her smile was too perfect, too measured, and her eyes, they were empty, not calm, not peaceful, just hollow. So Chitoku watched her in silence for days, and then he saw the truth. That virtuous woman was Domeki, the same 100-eyed Oni believed to have died there 400 years earlier. It had not truly died. As it healed, it hid itself in human form, concealing its true nature. And for 4 centuries, it drank human blood in secret, oceans of it, growing stronger, regaining power, waiting for the day it could return to its cruelty. But now Chitoku had seen through the illusion. Chitoku broke the spell. "I see your true face," he said calmly. "Oni." The plan was exposed. There was no need to hide anymore. Domeki let out a terrible scream and shifted into its true form. Its body swelled, its strength returned, and the eyes. Hundreds of eyes opened again. Domeki attacked. A brutal battle erupted inside the temple. The building shook. The Oni's flaming blood sprayed everywhere, igniting wood, paper walls, sacred ornaments. The temple began to turn to ash. But Chitoku did not fight with strength alone. As he struck with his holy staff, he preached the truth of Dharma. "Hatred will consume you," Chitoku said. "Revenge will imprison you. But forgiveness will set you free. Confess your sins, feel remorse, find the path." At first, Domeki only raged. Only hatred remained inside it. But Chitoku did not stop. He continued speaking, through fire, through screams, through pain. And then, a miracle happened. Tears began to fall from Domeki's countless eyes. It dropped to its knees. 400 years of rage, 400 years of pain, 400 years of loneliness collapsed all at once. "Please," it begged in a broken voice, "recite the sutras for my soul. Save me. Forgive me." Shitoku smiled, warm, compassionate. "You have already begun," he said. "Now, find peace." From that day on, Domeki changed completely. It never harmed anyone again. It remained near the temple, meditated, helped people, seeking redemption. The 100-eyed demon found stillness. The story spread. People retold Domeki's legend, the horror of its past, and the strange redemption that followed. The region became known for carved wooden Domeki masks and dolls worn as talismans to ward off evil and to remind people that even the worst soul can change. And the road leading toward Mount Myojin is still called Domeki Dori, the Road of the 100-Eyed Demon. Some elders still say, if you walk that road at night and you look carefully, you might see hundreds of tiny lights drifting between the trees, like eyes. Maybe it's just insects catching moonlight. Maybe it's only reflections of distant stars. Or maybe Domeki is still there, somewhere in the dark, watching, searching for the path forever.